Greetings everyone, this is Connor from Dagura TV, and this is why I find A Way Out so interesting. A Way Out is a co-op action-adventure game that is being made by the Swedish studio Hazelight and published by EA. It was announced at E3 2017 and really gained a lot of interest at the Game Awards, where the game director Joseph Fares gave us possibly the greatest moment in gaming history.
Yes? It's crazy, man. Like, look, this is kind of insane. Like, we're here, we're celebrating this. Look, the Oscars should fuck themselves up. This is the shit. I'm telling you, this is the real shit. What is this? This is the interactive gaming. Look, I'm just saying this. Let me tell. Sorry, I'm taking. Let me just give me a minute. I want to take your time. Look. Okay, can you swear here? Can you swear? Okay. Fuck the Oscars, you know. Fuck the Oscars. Fuck you. I'll tell you. This is bullshit. Look, here's the thing. Yeah. The gaming industry.
But behind all that drunken intros, there's actually a really interesting game there that I'm really looking forward to. The first reason that I'm interested in A Way Out is that the game has to be played in a co-op style and has two main characters, Vincent and Leo, that are trying to escape a prison. Having these two main characters rather than the classic co-op style of a main character with a cool quirky sidekick that makes the experience of sharing the game kind of more enjoyable because you've got a friend there with you, but not necessarily adding a huge amount to the experience because it's kind of an add-on. But with the game being kind of built around that co-op idea and having two main characters that have a huge story around them, makes it much more appealing to share that story with a friend because you can really get in there with someone. It's kind of like watching a film with a friend in a way and kind of talking about it as you go through and, you know, theorising with them and stuff like that. It makes it a lot more interesting to me. And the way the game does online co-op as well, by making it look like a shared couch experience by constantly having the split screen for both characters on the screen, means that seeing both of your views for more characters means that you're seeing both of the views for both characters all at the same time. And apparently there's a scene here and there that changes the view for cinematic effect, but for the majority of the time it is that classic split screen view. Makes it like a couch experience, which is way more better than playing games kind of over the internet, but you know, with modern technology and you know, with lives as it is, it obviously makes it a possibility to do so, and having that online capabilities there means that you'll be able to play with the people that you want to play with and have that same experience of what you would on a couch. And that, again, I find that really interesting because most games when you play as co-op over the internet, it tends to be, you know, you see your character and don't see, and the other person sees their view on the screen as well. You don't see it as a split screen view. And I feel like this game of having to see both views is going to be vital because there's so many different kind of scenes and stories that's going on at the same time and gives you that different viewpoint. It's going to make it more interesting to me. Reason number two for me being interested in A Way Out is the developers. Joseph Fares is clearly very passionate about his game, but that's not necessarily what I'm referring to here. I'm referring mainly to the previous game made by Hazelight, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Brothers was released in 2013, was headed up as well by Joseph Fares, and I really loved the game. I didn't play the game when it came out. I played it 2 or 3 years afterwards, and it was on a sale on Steam, I think. I got it for like £2.49 or something like that. It's something ridiculously cheap. And it's a 2 to 3 hour experience, and I absolutely adored it. The way the game is set out is you're controlling two characters, so it has that theme of having two main characters again, but in this one it's only a one-player game, it's a single-player game. And the way that you kind of control is the controller's kind of split into two. You're mainly using the thumbsticks and the triggers, really. And one side of the controller controls one character and the other half controls the younger character, basically. And you're moving them at the same time with the thumbsticks, and it's a weird kind of style of how to kind of get used to it, but you do end up getting used to it, and there's puzzles along the way, and you know, you've got to get your way through this world. There's no words spoken by the characters in this game, it's merely text, and they kind of make noises, you know, as you're doing these kind of things. And you kind of live in this really crazy world, and the story kind of goes through really emotional areas, and it's really relatable, and I found it absolutely a special game that everyone should play. And if you haven't played the game before A Way Out and you're looking forward to it, I'd definitely suggest picking it up because it's you know, it's really cheap. It's you know, you can get it for a few pounds, a few dollars, and you know, it's a short experience that you can play in one sitting. And really, by playing that game, I think it will make you way more excited for A Way Out because you'll have a true affection for it. Because I've been looking to see what Hazelight are doing for a while, and we knew there was something called Project Hazelight in development. We didn't know what it was, and it turned out to be A Way Out. And what they've showed hasn't disappointed me yet, and I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it. And that's really the second reason. The backlog of what that developer has of being able to make kind of emotionally driven and really well-crafted stories, and being able to bring that a step further in a much bigger game and a much bigger scope, and with characters that can talk in a more of a real-world setting, is really interesting to me to how they deal with it. The third reason for me is ambition of the scope of what Hazelight want to achieve in a contained period of 6 to 8 hours, which in my opinion is the perfect length for a story action heavy, a really heavy story action adventure game, which, is really one of my favourite types of games. And I'm referring mainly to what Joseph Fares have said in interviews and members of the game press who have played the game, where they're saying things like A Way Out attempts to do something different in every scene, which sounds like rhetoric to a lot of people, and to be honest with you, with a lot of development studios I would agree, but there's something about the dev team at Hazelight and their attitude of, if you don't like what we're trying to do here, then go play a different game, that's not what we're making here. And that makes me think they're actually trying to achieve what they're preaching out to the audience, and instead of making a load of promises just to get a bunch of people excited and involved, they actually care more about whether people like the game or not, and they're actually really passionate about how good their game is, which was the case for a lot of indie-like studios and a lot of indie studios out there. But there's something about A Way Out with, being under the banner of EA and having this kind of attitude is refreshing to that company and that kind of real publisher banner. And I guess we'll see whether or not they achieve what they're actually promising to people in the scope of what they're setting out to achieve when the game gets released, but the ambition of the project put into this contained short period is way more interesting to me to see if they can achieve it than the game set out to make the universe, for instance. And I think the reason for that is because while, it's grand what they're trying to do, and while it's, definitely going to be very hard for them, it's definitely, you can look at it and see, well, yeah, that's achievable, that you can make a really good game out of that. And even if you don't necessarily achieve that, it doesn't necessarily the game's going to be bad. Whereas, a huge game, trying to think of, No Man's Sky comes to my head, for instance, when they're trying to, craft this huge universe that has this really ridiculous math calculation to build it and everything. It's really interesting to see how they made the game, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be fun for the player. Whereas A Way Out, I think the stuff that they're promising to make, I think definitely promises to be a much more interesting experience and a better experience for the player. And I think that's mainly why I'm more interested. And the final reason for me being interested in A Way Out is the impact of choices in the game. If you've seen any of my previous videos or followed this channel for a considerable amount of time, then you'll know how much I love video games that have tried to have a serious impact with their choices in them. Whether that be in the gameplay of said game, or whether it comes down to the choices that you make in the story along the way. And it seems like A Way Out is going down the route of choices impacting the story of the game, not necessarily your gameplay. And let's face it, when it comes down to choice in video games, there's always this illusion to the player where it comes down to how much of an impact the choices have at the end result of the story. But when it comes down to it, the best games when it comes to choice really do a good job of presenting to the player that there is an endless possibility of what you can go with their choices, whether that be true or not. And the bad ones, like the Telltale games in my opinion, have this kind of funneling method where all those choices that you make earlier in the game are made pointless and made redundant by the end of it by having the same ending everyone else has. And it becomes clear after you've played more than one Telltale game that they all kind of go down this avenue really that isn't really, makes it kind of feel like, well actually, it wasn't really that interesting to me, what really happened at the end of the game there. And A Way Out is trying to achieve the first side of what I said amongst that, and it's having your impact of your choices, or at least what is there they're trying to achieve, to seem endless to the player and seem like you actually have a big impact with those choices. And that, if they do it well, that's going to make the game really replayable and make it very, very interesting. And again, it's another thing that we'll see whether or not they achieve it when the game comes release. But it definitely has drawn my attention to see if they can achieve this stuff that they've set out and talked about what they're wanting to do. And with Brothers, for instance, which is a game where, it's a very, very linear experience, choice isn't necessarily one of the things that comes along in the game. So having that is another step forward for the development studio to do something different, but it doesn't seem too far away from what they've done before when it comes down to the way that they're telling the story, for instance. And I find that very... I like that idea of, I like seeing development studios step forward after they've had a successful project, and seeing whether or not, a development studio who I like try and achieve that is obviously going to get under my interest. So thanks all for watching this video about A Way Out. I'm really looking forward to the game. It's out at the end of this week, so I'll definitely be playing it. And I'll talk about it on the games I've played this week, which I'm really looking forward to doing so, because I've been looking forward to this game really since it's been announced. So let me know if you're looking forward to it, what you're looking forward to about the game, if you enjoyed all the Joseph Fares highlights, in the build-up for the game to come out. It's been really, really cool to see how excited, a development studio is getting about the game. That's the thing. As human beings, we like to see how people get excited for the stuff that they create, and I feel that's really, really cool. So yeah, let me know if you're excited for A Way Out, if you know a lot about it, and all that good stuff. Obviously, be back on Wednesday for my Elder Scrolls or Bethesda style video, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.